Welcome to Daily Meditation with Sangha Live.
My name's Milla, and I'm going to be here with you this week on Sangha Live, holding the space for everybody's meditation and sharing a few ideas. It's just dawn here. It's a very beautiful time to be up. And so thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here. Sort of at this point where practice and life meet, um, right here and right now in this community, to practice with what's really going on, whether that's our inner world with all of its mysteries and pains and pleasures, or it's the outer world with everything else that's going on, also mysteries, pleasures, and pains. We practice in the context of what's really going on, whether that's Trump's election and politics of the far right, in different places across the whole world, the ongoing devastation in Gaza and the West Bank, war in Ukraine, or the climate and ecological crises. We're practicing together, I feel, not to escape, but to work with things, to be wise and effective in our approaches, in our responses. And I'm glad to be here with all of you. So this week I was thinking I would generally take an approach of sitting first and then kind of sharing a few words afterwards and questions and discussions and so on. So we'll go relatively soon into a sit. And I'm inspired to do this by one of my teachers called Lee Brathington. And he was inspired to do this by a story from Bhikkhu Kittisaro, who said that one of his teachers always said, "Never teach the Dharma to people who have not meditated." I was always very impressed by that. So I'm just going to try it out. Generally, kind of sitting first on these mornings. And this week, my theme is warm solitude, beautiful nature. So warm solitude in lots of different ways, and the idea of beautiful nature, whether within us or without us, lots of different ways. And I'll pick a few kind of different paths through these topics each day. And today, really about being alone with others. The kind of warm solitude which you sometimes experience when we're surrounded with others, and yet we have an inner solitude or an inner seclusion. I was on a retreat once, and a few years ago at Gaia House, and in one of the sharing circles towards the end of the retreat, people were talking about their experiences, and one person said that they found the silence really difficult, really disturbing. I think because they experienced it as a cold silence, or an unfriendly silence. And I think this is true for a lot of people. They automatically assume that no talking is like them being ignored or it being a problem, like it's triggering for them in some way. And I remember reflecting how that was really different for in my experience that I had felt like very warm and connected with everybody. I felt that on the retreat, it's more like we were generously giving each other space and allowing one another to practice in peace. And you may have experienced this yourselves in the sort of friendly silence of a retreat, or in other places, like in a library, or if you're just sitting at home and there are other people around and you're not actively communicating, but you're with each other, kind of all doing your own thing. So it's that kind of feeling that I'm kind of thinking about when I say alone with others, alone together. A warm solitude. So with all that in mind, let's settle for some practice. So feel free to make yourself comfortable. Might want to do some moving or some stretching or shaking, rubbing your face or your neck, just getting yourself settled in the ways that you know, finding your seat, finding your connection with the ground, whether that's whether you're standing or lying or sitting or another form. Maybe your legs, your feet, your seat, allowing your weight to really fall down through your body and be met by the earth, trusting that you'll be held. And what would it be like to trust maybe just a little bit more, trusting that support, letting go into that support, the earth beneath you, the land beneath you. And perhaps with that sense of support and grounding, there's a way to invite any bracing or holding that might be in your experience right now to soften a little, particularly perhaps in the front of your body, maybe your throat or your stomach, your jaw, maybe your brow, inviting even 5% of softening. And if you'd like, taking a couple of slightly deeper than usual breaths, sighing out, allowing yourself to come to stillness in this way that's at once alert and relaxed, with gratitude for this practice and with an awareness of one another, all quietly practicing together, connecting with your experience, whether that's an open awareness working with whatever arises. Perhaps you'll choose an object today, such as sound, or the sensations in part of your body, like your hands or your legs. Or maybe you'll choose the sensations of your body breathing, sensations of your body moving as breathing happens. And we'll practice together now in quiet for about half an hour. resting into your support, your contact with the ground, allowing that support to allow you to unclench, unbrace, settle and sink into your contact with what's really going on. Support of the ground, support of this community, the support of all the people and other factors and the histories in your life that make the space now for your practice, that are affording you this warm solitude to meet the moment. settling in again and again, accepting the support. And as we move into the last part of quiet practice, perhaps allowing some contacts with that support, that wider support, each other in this Sangha, allowing some gratitude, some friendliness, some love to one another, for our shared practice, our individual practices, and the web that they weave. In all directions in space, back and forwards in time, making and remaking the network of connection and practice and Sangha and Dharma together. So as we come back together, taking a minute to move, to stretch, to transition. And I'm interested to know how it was for you to practice your warm solitude. I encourage you to share any thoughts, reflections in the chat, or to ask any questions if you'd like. Um, it's another way that we can make sangha together. We can weave weave the world together by being in touch in that way. And as I'm sure you already are used to, please put question in capitals if it's a question so that I can see it if I scroll through. Um, yeah, I'm just gonna have some tea. Mm. So the Buddha uses the word seclusion, or a word that gets translated as seclusion, um, quite a bit in the suttas, in the Pali suttas, and I think often what's being pointed to is um, not necessarily separation. Separation from information from our senses, or from the rest of the world, or from our relationships. More a sense of having space. So it's a kind of a withdrawal, but not a pushing away, not a separation in that sense. A bit like this idea of warm solitude that I'm touching on. Um, Solitude in the sense of spending time alone, but without pushing away, without separating, still very much in interdependence. And that can, I think, even be when we're with others. Um, and one way that the Buddha talked about this was by calling it the better way to live alone. Um, Keeping the mind able, freely able, or free enough to be able to rest in the immediacy of experience rather than being drawn into the past or into the future, or being swept away by the present. So having this kind of ability to rest in real experience. And Thich Nhat Hanh wrote about this idea of the better way to live alone, um, in a couple of different suttas, and I'll talk about one of them today and maybe a couple later in the week. Um, so the one I'll talk about today is the Baddhakarata Sutta, and I'll put the reference in the chat later, but it's number 131 in the Majjhima Nikaya, in case you'd like to look at that yourself and follow it up. And part of the sutta is a kind of a gatha, a kind of some verses, and I think that hand translates it like this: um, "Do not pursue the past. Do not lose yourself in the future. The past no longer is. The future has yet to. The future has not yet come. Looking deeply at life as it is, in the very here and now, the practitioner dwells in stability and freedom. We must be diligent today. To wait till tomorrow is too late. Death comes unexpectedly. How can we bargain with it? The sage called a person who dwells in mindfulness night and day the one who knows the better way to live alone." And yeah, So this idea of being able to be in contact with what's right here, right now, with the reality of our experience without becoming drawn away, without becoming lost in pursuing the past or or the future. And again, it's about our relationship with the past and the future. It's not about refusing to accept the past and the future, or always having to be kind of locked into solely present moment awareness, but not pursuing, not grasping, not this sense of grabbing, or being lost. Um, and I had an experience made me think of this recently, um, and this kind of finding a kind of warm solitude in which to be balanced. Um, I was spending some time with some family, and we were going for a walk. And sometimes this particular part of the family makes me a little bit anxious. I find myself a little ungrounded, um, and I can kind of seek connection by kind of coming out of myself and chasing after connection a little bit. And I lose my sense of inner freedom and inner stability. I don't know why that happens. They're absolutely lovely. And we all get on very well, but this kind of sense of grasping, of searching comes out in me, and I can really lose contact with myself. Um, sort of flapping around. So I was practicing the other day, um, and thinking about this sense of seclusion or and ground, but also this sense of losing it. And I had this really strong image of finding a place in myself, um, like a point of solitude within myself where I could retreat. I mean, it felt like a very physical, like, image. It was almost like a tree and a little hole in the tree, and some part of me could be like a little squirrel, going in there and uh, finding a place from which to look out. And because this image was, uh, re for me, very easy to work with, and because we were gonna be walking in woodlands, um, I thought, well, I'll use this afternoon with the family as a place of practice, I'll just like I would sit on my mat, I'll walk with them, but I'll try and stay in touch or regularly come back to this point within myself where there's safety. And, I really found that it helped. I really found that it changed things, um, because I was more grounded. I was able to be much more relaxed, and I think that's changed the network of interactions we were having, and so the support enabled, um, you know, better world making together, uh, better interactions together, and I found it, like, not really very stressful. And so because I was not stressed, it was just easier to be. Um, yeah, so for me, a little bit like this balance that the Gatha in the sutta is pointing towards, where we're resting in what's really going on. And through that, we find a sense of ground and contact with the world that is really authentic. We're not being drawn out, and we're not getting stuck or becoming too graspy about anything. We can have this kind of buoyant response to the world. Um, and so I found that it was a very similar pattern. I was not going out, I was not kind of running away, but I was able to be kind of more freely balanced. So that's all I really wanted to share with you, just the that part of the Bhattacharya Sutta and a kind of story that for me brought it to life.
Today's podcast is an offering to you from our archive of freely available live daily classes. We make wisdom teachings and meditations as freely available as possible to as many people as wish to practice. You can help ensure we can continue to support a worldwide Sangha by leaving a review wherever you get your podcasts, by sharing this with someone who'd be interested, and by offering a small financial support at sangha.live/donate.